Welcome, dear listeners, to another journey into the timeless myths of ancient Greece, where gods and mortals share stories filled with mystery, wonder, and echoes of eternity. Tonight, we enter a tale where mortal and divine are woven into one, carrying us toward the birth of a child unlike any other, destined to be remembered forever in song and story. He is Dionysus, the god of wine, joy, and freedom without boundaries, a spirit of both wild celebration and deep transformation. His life beginning not once, but twice. The Greeks knew him as the twice-born god. For within his tale lies the truth of rebirth, resilience, and the power of rising again after every ending that seems final. At the center stands Zeus, king of the gods, whose choices shaped both Olympus and the mortal world, binding together divine passion with the fragile beauty of humanity. Through the love of a mortal woman and the eternal spark of the divine, Dionysus would come into existence, his beginning unlike any other among the children of the gods. So let the noise of the day fade into silence, and join me as we step into this myth, the story of Zeus and Dionysus, the god of wine, born twice. Close your eyes and imagine the endless sky stretching above the mountains of Greece, where winds whisper and sunlight glows across valleys touched by the breath of the divine. High upon Olympus sits Zeus, the mighty ruler of thunder and storms, a king whose heart often wandered beyond his throne into the fragile beauty of the mortal world below. Among all his stories of love, one shines quietly, not for grandeur or conquest, but for tenderness, a tale bound to the name of a mortal princess called Semele. Semele was the daughter of King Cadmus of Thebes and Harmonia, a gentle spirit. She carried beauty in her eyes, grace in her steps, and laughter that warmed those around her. One summer evening, as she gathered flowers by the river Ismenus, her presence glowed brighter than the day itself, and Zeus's heart stirred with a love he could not resist. Descending from Olympus, Zeus came not with thunder or flame, but as a noble stranger. His eyes shone with hidden fire, yet his voice carried softness, calm as music drifting on wind. Semele welcomed this mysterious visitor. Though unaware of his true nature, she felt no fear. There was a spark between them, a bond of curiosity, trust, and unspoken wonder. Days turned into weeks. Zeus returned again and again, disguised, speaking of stars, of dreams unbound by earth. Semele listened, heart opening, enchanted by his warmth and secret strength. Their bond grew. Love blossomed quietly, like fire hidden in the dark. For Zeus, it was gentler than other passions. For Semele, it was wondrous and fragile, unlike anything she knew. In time, this secret love bore fruit. Semele discovered she carried a child, one touched by mortal blood and divine spark, destined for a path beyond imagination or mortal measure. But secrets cannot stay hidden forever. Even in Olympus, whispers drift like wind. Hera, queen of the gods, wife of Zeus, began to hear faint traces of the truth. Yet before Hera's shadow enters this tale, let us pause in the quiet beginning, where love glows softly, before sorrow arrives, before fate casts its deeper threads. Picture Semele in her garden at dusk, stars above, air scented with jasmine. She places a hand upon her belly, unaware of the divine destiny growing within. Zeus watches her from afar, torn between love, pride, and destiny. This fragile moment, tender and fleeting, is where the story of Dionysus, the twice-born god, truly begins. Not with thunder or war, but with affection between a mortal woman and the king of gods. A love both delicate and eternal, shaping the birth of a child of wine. For now, we leave them in stillness, their hearts bound in secrecy, unaware of the trials to come. From their union, a god's journey begins, silent and unstoppable. The halls of Olympus shimmered with gold and light, where every whisper carried weight, and every glance hid meanings only the gods could read. Zeus thought his secret love was hidden, but no flame of affection could remain unseen in the watchful heights of Olympus. Hera, queen of the gods, sharp of sight and fierce of pride, had long guarded vows of marriage and kept watch on Zeus's wandering heart. Whispers reached her ears of a mortal princess carrying Zeus's child. Semele of Thebes, her name alone stirred jealousy like a storm upon Hera's lips. Though Semele was blameless, Hera's pride could not endure a mortal woman bearing a child touched by the king of the gods. Hera's anger did not strike loudly. It moved like shadow, patient and clever, finding paths where thunder could not reach. One evening she descended, cloaked not in power, but in the gentle disguise of an old woman with kind eyes and honeyed words. She sat beside Semele and whispered, "Child, I see your glow, the secret within you. Who is the father of your child?" Semele blushed with trust and joy. She revealed her lover was no mortal, but a god who came to her in secret. The old woman smiled sweetly, but her eyes narrowed. "A god, you say? But how do you know it is true? Could he not be deceiving you?" The words sank deep into Semele's mind, stirring doubt where trust had lived. Had she ever truly seen him? As a god? Hera's voice pressed gently, a whisper sharp as glass. "If he is Zeus, ask him to reveal himself in glory. Surely he would not deny you proof." The goddess left like mist at dawn, but her poison remained. Semele's heart now turned with questions that gave her no rest. Each night, as Zeus returned, she looked with searching eyes, wondering what truth hid beneath the form he wore. At last she spoke, trembling but determined. "My beloved, if you are Zeus, king of the gods, show yourself. Reveal your true form to me." Zeus froze, sorrow heavy in his heart. He knew the danger hidden in her request, the brilliance no mortal could endure. He pleaded with her, begging she ask for anything else, crowns, treasures, even immortality, but not this. But Semele, holding fast to the whisper of doubt, insisted, "If you love me, you will not hide yourself." Bound by his oath to the river Styx, Zeus could not refuse. With grief, he began to reveal himself in divine brilliance. No disguise, no gentle cloak, only thunder, lightning, and flame. The unbearable radiance of godhood unveiled. Semele, mortal and loving, could not bear the sight. Her life faded like a candle before a storm, yet from within her remained a spark. The child not yet born. A life Zeus could not let vanish. Grief filled him, but his resolve was clear. The unborn child must be saved, for his destiny was greater than loss. Thus ends this part of the tale, where jealousy whispered, love bent beneath fate, and sorrow gave way to the spark of rebirth. The halls of Olympus had seen countless wonders, yet none as mysterious as the unborn child saved from Semele. When Semele was lost in the blaze of Zeus's divine form, sorrow echoed through the heavens like a heavy silence. But amid grief, one spark endured, a fragile soul, half mortal, half divine, waiting to claim its place in the world. Zeus, shaken with loss, would not let the unborn child vanish. He reached through the ashes and took the life within. No cradle of mortal hands could hold him. No place on earth could shelter him from Hera's watchful and vengeful gaze. Then Zeus conceived a daring plan, not to hide him in temple or cave, but to carry him within his own immortal body. With fire and divine will, he opened his thigh and placed the child within, sealing it with unbreakable threads of power. Thus began a second gestation, unlike any told in the tales of gods or men. Dionysus was to be born twice. Whispers traveled through Olympus. Some marveled at Zeus's love, others trembled at Hera's wrath yet to come. Inside Zeus, time passed strangely. Each heartbeat was a lullaby, each breath a tide of divine strength for the child. Yet Hera felt a shift. The silence, the glances, the hidden whispers told her Zeus was guarding another secret. When the time was ripe, Zeus called the seasons and the fates to aid in the second birth. With gentle care, they brought forth the child, radiant and alive, his cry filled with promise and divine resonance. This was Dionysus, born of love and tragedy, born from mortal flame and divine flesh, child of sorrow and joy. But even at his first breath, danger still lingered. Hera's fury had not waned, and her pride burned hotter than before. She would not allow another child of Zeus to grow in peace, to rise with power beyond her shadow. Zeus knew this truth. To protect the infant, he prepared for journeys, for exile, for guardianship in secret lands. The child would not remain on Olympus, not yet. His path would be shaped by wandering, by hidden growth, by change. The gods marveled at the miracle. Twice born, nourished by love, shielded by will, destined for greatness none could deny. Dionysus carried the legacy of Semele, her flame living on through him, unyielding to Hera's envy or fate's design. Thus began the tale of the twice-born god, marked by grief, carried by wonder, destined to walk between worlds. The story of Dionysus did not end with his second birth. In truth, it was only the beginning of his journey. Zeus had saved his son, but Hera's jealousy lingered. Her wrath smoldered like embers, waiting to flare into fire. The child could not remain on Olympus. Zeus sought guardians who might protect him from Hera's relentless gaze. He turned first to Hermes, the swift messenger. Cloaked in shadows, Hermes carried the child through forests and valleys. They crossed rivers and seas until they reached a place hidden from Hera's sharp and searching eyes. There Hermes left Dionysus with Ino, sister of Semele, and her husband Athamas. They welcomed him with care. Ino cradled her nephew as her own, singing lullabies that softened his divine restlessness into gentle sleep. But Hera soon discovered the truth. Her fury burned hotter, for no mortal woman would raise the child of Zeus. She descended upon Ino's house, sowing madness like seeds, and danger swept close to the infant god. Once more Zeus intervened. He lifted his son away, sparing him from the chaos that consumed the household. Dionysus's path turned again, carried far from harm, across lands unknown to mortal and immortal alike. This time Zeus entrusted him to the nymphs of Mount Nysa, in a secret land of fertile beauty. Some said Nysa lay in Thrace, others in Asia. Still others whispered it was not of earth at all. The nymphs raised him with joy. They taught him to laugh with the streams and dance with the wind. They wrapped him in ivy, crowned him with grape leaves, symbols of the destiny waiting in his future. To guard him further, Zeus called Silenus, the wise satyr whose laughter masked ancient knowledge and riddles. Silenus became his teacher, friend, and guide, filling Dionysus's days with both wonder and wisdom. In their care, the child grew strong and radiant, carrying the mark of sorrow and the promise of joy. But Dionysus's life was never still. Even in infancy, exile and wandering shaped his path and his heart. Each place he touched held memory. Ino cherished his laughter. The nymphs remembered dances in the glades. Silenus carried the memory of a child destined to change the world with joy and transformation. Though still young, Dionysus was already more than mortal. Twice born, carried across lands, blessed and protected. His wandering youth foreshadowed his immortal path, bringing wine, ecstasy, and revelation wherever he would roam. For even in his infancy, he carried a destiny no wrath could extinguish and no exile could erase. Dionysus grew up in the hidden valleys of Nysa, raised by nymphs and satyrs, where his days were filled with song, laughter, and the quiet stirrings of destiny. From childhood, he was unlike any other. His laughter rang like music. Vines curled toward his hands, and grapes ripened where his gaze lingered. As if nature itself embraced him, the nymphs whispered in awe, sensing that this boy carried powers never before seen, while Silenus watched with knowing eyes, amused by the child's bond with the wild. As he grew, Dionysus wandered deeper into the forests. There, he discovered a vine unlike any other, its fruit heavy with sweetness, waiting for him to uncover its secret. He tasted the grape, and warmth spread through him like fire and music combined. In that moment, he felt a force, awakening joy, release, and a touch of the divine. Curious, he crushed the fruit, fermenting its juice into a drink unlike anything before. Thus, wine was born, the potion of ecstasy that would define his name forever. The nymphs dared to taste it, and their dances became wilder, freer. The forest rang with song and laughter, as though the drink itself unlocked hidden joy in their souls. Silenus laughed heartily, declaring wine not just a drink, but a revelation, one that softened sorrow, blurred pain, and carried mortals closer to the world of gods. But whispers of these wild celebrations soon spread beyond Nysa. Travelers spoke of vines growing in abundance and of a youth who turned sorrow into joy wherever he walked. Hera's jealousy rekindled. She saw in Dionysus not just Zeus's child, but a new power threatening the order of Olympus, a force she could neither silence nor ignore. Yet Zeus watched with pride. In Dionysus, he saw strength born from survival, joy rising from loss, and a divine gift the world desperately needed. Still, Dionysus struggled with his dual nature, mortal through Semele, divine through Zeus. At times, he felt torn between worlds, belonging fully to neither. Wine became his bridge. In its bitter sweetness, he found the truth of life, fleeting yet eternal, fragile yet divine, sorrowful yet filled with joy beyond measure. Followers began to gather. Nymphs, satyrs, and wandering mortals alike were drawn to him, enchanted by the liberation he offered through the power of the vine. The valleys of Nysa echoed with wild music, unending dances, and nights of celebration. The twice-born child was no longer hidden. He was becoming a god in his own right. Dionysus, once sheltered in secrecy, now revealed himself as a force of transformation, a god who would forever change both mortal hearts and divine realms. The boy of laughter, ivy, and wine was stepping into his destiny, carrying the gift that made him eternal in worship and immortal in memory. Dionysus could not remain in Nysa forever. The wide world called to him, and so his wandering began, with ivy in his hair and laughter in his voice. Wherever he traveled, he carried vines and wine. Villages once weary found joy, and nights once silent now filled with song, dance, and endless celebration. Farmers tasted his gift and discovered life was not only toil but also freedom, friendship, and moments of joy that made sorrow lighter and work more bearable. Some kings welcomed him with honor, marveling at the gift of wine, but others feared him, seeing his celebrations as a threat to their power and order. They worried that wine loosened control, that laughter hid rebellion, that dances of nymphs and satyrs could shatter the chains they had placed on their people. But Dionysus did not come as a conqueror. He came as a teacher, gentle yet unshakable, bringing joy where there was sorrow and freedom where there was fear. If one gate closed, he found another. If mocked, he answered with patience. And always, the people's voices rose in song, stronger than any king's decree. His followers grew. Nymphs, satyrs, and mortals alike joined his procession, drawn to the joy he carried, each step a reminder that life is meant to be lived. Their wild dances seemed chaotic, but within the laughter was balance, mortality embraced, sorrow released, joy cherished as a gift both fleeting and eternal. Still, Dionysus carried questions in his heart. Was he mortal, child of Semele? Was he divine, son of Zeus? Did he belong fully to either world? Sometimes, as music swirled around him, he fell into silence. Was his wandering a search for recognition, or was it truly a search for himself? Yet wherever he went, he became more than a wanderer. His festivals grew sacred. His wine became a bridge between mortal hearts and the divine realm. Mortals found in him not just laughter but communion, a closeness to gods that temples could not give, a celebration of life in its fragile beauty. Even rulers who once resisted began to see. Dionysus did not destroy order. He balanced it. He softened sorrow, loosened chains, and renewed weary hearts. His legend did not rise from marble temples or golden thrones. It rose from the voices of the people who laughed, danced, and drank in his company. The twice-born child was no longer hidden. He walked the earth as a god of transformation, revealing truth through wine, song, and boundless celebration. He taught that life is not only endurance, but also joy. To live fully is to embrace both laughter and tears, both the fleeting and the eternal. Wherever he wandered, he left his gift behind. The gift of wine, of dance, of freedom, reminding mortals that their lives, too, were divine. Dionysus, once hidden, was now revealed as the god who walked among them, awakening the world one step, one song, one cup at a time. Dionysus had wandered far, yet one truth weighed heavy. Olympus had not recognized him, though mortals sang his name in every valley. The gods observed him with suspicion. He was too close to mortals, too wild, too free, a god who laughed, danced, and shared his gifts without restraint. Zeus's pride in his son grew. He had watched him survive Hera's wrath, grow in secret, and rise as a bringer of joy across the earth. But Hera would not yield. To her, Dionysus was a wound that never healed, a symbol of Semele's defiance and of a child born beyond her control. Yet mortals adored him. They danced in his honor, poured wine and libation, and sang beneath the stars, celebrating him as the god of joy and release. One day Dionysus returned to Olympus, not to claim a throne, but to present himself as he was, clothed in ivy, carrying a simple cup of wine. The gods gathered. Some sneered, others whispered, but many watched as he offered not power or conquest, but the taste of joy itself. At first, they hesitated. Yet one sip led to another, and laughter began to stir in the solemn halls of Olympus for the first time in ages. The gods felt lighter, their hearts loosened. They began to see him not as an outsider, but as one who revealed something they too had forgotten. Recognition grew slowly. Dionysus was given a seat among them, not as a warrior or king, but as the god who embodied the truth of joy. Even Hera could not erase what was written across the world. Dionysus was immortal not only by birth but by devotion, loved by mortals and gods alike. The twice-born child, once hidden in caves, now stood among Olympus's greatest. His place earned not by force but by the love of celebration. He was more than a god of wine. He was a god of transformation, reminding all that even sorrow and joy are threads of the same eternal fabric. Dionysus had found his place at last, the boy of ivy and laughter, the wanderer turned god, his name forever etched in Olympus and mortal song. As Dionysus grew, his presence spread beyond Olympus, touching the lives of mortals everywhere. Unlike distant gods, Dionysus walked among people, sharing in their laughter and celebrations. Wine was his gift, but it meant more than drink. It was freedom, joy, and connection. Through wine, burdens lightened, strangers became friends, and life's sorrows found release. He brought not only vines, but also music, dance, and the spark of theater. In his honor, festivals bloomed with masks, stories, and voices, blending joy and tears. Drama, both comedy and tragedy, was born from his sacred celebrations and rituals. Dionysus embodied duality, gentle and generous, yet mysterious and unpredictable in spirit. He showed mortals that life was change, always shifting between extremes of joy and sorrow. Zeus watched with pride as Dionysus became more than a god. He was a bridge. Unlike lofty Olympus, Dionysus joined farmers, shepherds, and common folk in their songs. His followers danced with thyrsus in hand, feeling alive, free, and deeply connected. Some rulers feared his power, seeing freedom as a threat to order and control. Yet Dionysus endured, welcomed into Olympus, but still faithful to the people he loved. Wine became not only a drink of joy, but also a mirror for reflection. Laughter was healing, sorrow was transformation, and both were parts of divine balance. He taught that every human experience, joy, grief, song, was sacred and deeply meaningful. Festivals in his name lived on, year after year, season after season, vine after vine. He was more than wine's god. He was rebirth, art, community, and eternal transformation. As long as cups are raised and laughter echoes, Dionysus will forever live on. This is his legacy, the god of wine, born twice, who taught humanity to celebrate life.